The research vessel Starlight Seeker drifted silently through the empty sector of space, its smooth silver hull reflecting the distant starlight. Inside the ship's main control room, Science Officer Blue stood at his station, his tall, slender frame swaying gently as he studied the sensor readings. His large, silver eyes blinked rapidly as unusual data scrolled across his screen. "Captain, I'm detecting an unusual signal," Blue reported, his translator converting his musical language into standard galactic common. "It appears to be a distress beacon, but the frequency is primitive." The ship's captain, a being made of crystalline structures, turned his gleaming face toward Blue. "Origin: unknown space. It's coming from the edge of mapped territory." Blue's four-fingered hand moved across the holographic display. "The signal is strong but uses basic radio waves. Most species abandoned such technology centuries ago." The captain considered this for a moment, his crystalline body catching the light from nearby screens. "Plot a course. Council regulations require us to investigate all distress signals." The Starlight Seeker changed direction, its advanced engines barely making a whisper as they pushed the ship toward the source of the mysterious signal. As they drew closer, the ship's sensors began picking up more details. "Energy readings are unusual," Blue muttered, his species' natural curiosity evident in his voice. "I'm detecting weapons fire, but the patterns don't match any known configurations." The scene that greeted them as they dropped out of faster-than-light travel made the entire bridge crew freeze. A massive, angular ship covered in what appeared to be crude armor plating was exchanging fire with three sleeker vessels. The larger ship's design was completely foreign to their database, its hull marked with strange symbols that read "Iron in what their systems identified as an unknown script. "By the Council," Blue whispered, his silver eyes wide. "Those are mining charges they're using as weapons. The efficiency is remarkable." The crew watched in amazement as the larger ship, despite its apparent primitive design, held its own against the attackers. The pirates, for that's what the attacking ships clearly were, seemed frustrated by their target's resilience. Receiving a transmission, the communications officer announced, her bioluminescent patterns flashing with surprise. "It's from the large vessel, but the life sign readings can't be right." The main screen flickered to life, and the entire bridge crew instinctively moved back. The being on the screen looked unlike anything they had encountered before. It stood upright like many species, but its form was dense, covered in some kind of artificial skin, and its face was alarmingly symmetrical with exposed teeth that seemed permanently visible. "This is Captain James of the mining vessel Ironwill," the creature spoke, its voice somehow carrying authority despite the chaos visible behind it. "We got pirates trying to board us, and we could use some help if you're offering. If not, I suggest you clear the area. Things are about to get messy." Blue's instruments were going crazy. The section of the ship where this James stood was registering temperatures and pressure that should have been lethal. More astounding still, the being seemed to be bleeding from a wound on its face, but continued functioning as if it were merely an inconvenience. "Captain," Blue turned to his crystalline superior, his voice trembling slightly. "These beings, they're operating in conditions that would kill most known species. The artificial gravity in their ship alone is nearly twice galactic standard. And these readings," he gestured to his screen, "they suggest their bodies contain high concentrations of heavy metals and their blood is iron-based. They're literally filled with metal." Before anyone could respond, the Ironwill demonstrated its capabilities. One of the pirate ships had moved too close, likely attempting to attach boarding cables. The mining vessel's response was immediate and shocking. What appeared to be a mining drill activated, but instead of collecting resources, it punched straight through the pirate ship's shields and hull as if they were made of light fabric. "Fascinating," Blue couldn't help but comment, even as his crew mates shifted uncomfortably. "They've modified industrial equipment into weaponry. The sheer power required to operate such tools, let alone weaponize them, The captain's crystalline form vibrated in what his species used as a sign of decision-making. "Open a channel. It seems we've encountered something new." And Blue, he added as the communications officer worked, "Prepare a preliminary report for the council. They'll want to know about these beings who treat Deathworld conditions as normal." The meeting room aboard the Starlight Seeker was designed to accommodate various species comfortably. However, nothing had prepared it for humans. Captain James sat in a chair designed for much larger beings, his sturdy frame somehow making the oversized furniture look small. Blue couldn't help but notice how the human moved with surprising grace despite coming from a high-gravity world. "They took 6 of my crew members," James explained, his voice steady but carrying an edge that made Blue's sensitive audio receptors vibrate uncomfortably. "The pirates managed to breach our cargo hold during the fight. We need to get them back." The crystalline captain of the Starlight Seeker shifted, creating a sound like wind chimes. "Our sensors indicate the pirate vessels jumped to the Crimson Nebula sector. The conditions there are extreme." James leaned forward, and Blue noticed with fascination how the human's facial muscles moved to create what his scanobiology training suggested was a smile. It looked terrifying. "Extreme conditions are what we do best, Captain. My people come from what you'd call a death world. We're built for this." Blue couldn't contain himself any longer. "Your species regularly operates in 1.9 standard gravity units, and these readings suggest you require oxygen, a highly corrosive gas, to survive." "Fascinating." He paused, realizing he might have been too eager. "Apologies. I'm a science officer." James waved off the apology with a gesture that involved moving his entire upper limb. Such inefficient but somehow effective movement. "No problem. And yes, Earth, our home planet, has higher gravity than most inhabited worlds. We also breathe oxygen, drink water that would dissolve some species, and can eat things that would be considered toxic to others." The alien crew members present exchanged worried looks. The crystalline captain's chimes took on a concerned tone. "The Crimson Nebula has acidic storms and radiation levels that exceed safety protocols." "Perfect." James pulled out a small device and projected a rough map. "That means they won't expect anyone to follow them there. My crew is trained for harsh environments. We mine asteroids for a living. Acid storms don't scare us." Blue studied the human's vital signs on his portable scanner with growing amazement. "Your heart rate didn't even increase when mentioning these hazards. You genuinely aren't concerned about conditions that would dissolve most species." "What concerns me," James replied, pointing to several locations on the map, "is that my people are in the hands of pirates who don't understand human durability. They might put them in containment units designed for normal species. My crew could break free and hurt themselves or others by accident." The crystalline captain vibrated in surprise. "You're worried about your captured crew damaging the pirates' containment units, not about their survival." James shrugged, another full-body gesture that fascinated Blue. "Humans are tough. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. High gravity, extreme temperatures, natural disasters, predators. We survived it all. But we also learned to be careful with species that didn't evolve like we did." Blue quickly typed notes into his device. "This explains the modifications to your mining vessel. You've adapted industrial equipment because your species can handle the physical strain of operating it." "Exactly." James stood up, his movement causing several lighter gravity species in the room to step back instinctively. "So, are you going to help us? Your ship has better sensors than ours, and we could use your expertise in tracking them down. In return, you'll have humans as allies in conditions your people can't handle." The crystalline captain conferred briefly with his officers, their chiming conversation too quick for James to follow. Finally, he turned back to the human. "Agreed. But we need to establish safety protocols. Our ship isn't designed for beings of your durability." James nodded, then reached into his pocket and pulled out a small container. Several aliens gasped as he opened it and took a sip. "Don't worry," he said, noticing their reaction. "It's just coffee. Helps us focus." Blue's scanner went wild. That's a neurotoxin. You're drinking a neurotoxin stimulant." "Like I said," James smiled again, causing two smaller alien crew members to hide behind their captain. "Humans are built different. Now, let's plan a rescue mission." Blue had never been so excited in his scientific career. The chance to observe humans up close was proving both terrifying and fascinating. He followed James through the Starlight Seeker as they prepared for the rescue mission, his scanner constantly recording data. The first surprise came when they visited the ship's medical bay. One of James's remaining crew members, a stocky human called Mike, had a deep cut on his arm from the pirate attack. Instead of seeking immediate treatment, he had continued working for hours. "Your tissue is already beginning to heal," Blue observed, watching the ship's medical computer struggle to analyze the human biology. Without any medical intervention. Mike shrugged as the medical droid attempted to apply standard healing gel. "Yeah, we heal pretty fast. It's just a scratch anyway." "A scratch?" Blue's silver eyes widened. The wound penetrated 3 layers of tissue. Most species would require emergency stasis. The next shock came during their tactical planning session. The ship's artificial gravity had been set to standard levels, comfortable for most galactic species. James noticed some of the alien crew moving with more effort than usual. "Is everything okay?" he asked. "You all seem tired." The crystalline captain chimed softly. "Our gravity generators are malfunctioning. They're stuck at 1.2 standard units. Most of our crew will need rest periods." James blinked in surprise. "Only 1.2. That's like a vacation for us. Earth is about twice this." He turned to Blue. "Can we increase it in just some sections? My crew would actually work better with more gravity." Blue watched in amazement as the humans eagerly moved to the high-gravity sections of the ship that most species used for storage. They began setting up their equipment there, moving heavy crates with ease, and even exercising in what should have been crushing gravitational force. The third revelation came during a shared meal period. The ship's food synthesizer had been programmed with human nutritional requirements, but the results were apparently unsatisfying. James pulled out emergency rations from their mining vessel. "What is that smell?" asked one of the floating gas-based crew members, their forms swirling in distress. "Hot sauce," James replied, adding the red liquid to his food. "Makes things taste better." Blue's scanner went crazy again. "That contains capsaicin. It's a defense chemical that plants evolve to prevent being eaten. You're voluntarily consuming a natural weapon." "Yeah, we like spicy food. Helps wake you up." James offered the bottle to Blue, who quickly floated backward. "No, your loss." But the biggest surprise came when they finally located the pirate base. It was hidden on a volcanic moon, with surface temperatures hot enough to melt some metals. The atmosphere was thick with toxic gases, and radiation levels were well above safe limits. "Perfect," James said, studying the scans. "They won't expect anyone to come looking there." "It's not perfect." Blue's voice rose in pitch. "The environment is lethal. The atmospheric pressure alone would crush most environmental suits." James pulled up the specs for the human mining suits. "These are rated for deep space asteroid mining. We regularly work in vacuum, radiation, and extreme temperatures. This moon. It's not much worse than some of our mining sites." The alien crew watched in stunned silence as James and his team began preparing their equipment. They checked their sturdy suits, loaded their modified mining tools, and spoke casually about entering conditions that would kill most sentient beings. "One more thing," James added, pulling out several containers of dark liquid. "We'll need this." "More neurotoxin stimulant?" Blue asked, already knowing the answer. "Coffee," James corrected with a smile. "If we're going to rescue our people from a volcanic hell moon, we're going to need to be wide awake." Blue made a final note in his research log. Humans don't just survive in Deathworld conditions. They treat them as a minor inconvenience and enhance their performance with recreational neurotoxins. The galaxy is not prepared for these beings. The surface of the volcanic moon looked like something from a nightmare. Rivers of molten rock flowed between black, jagged mountains, and the sky glowed an angry red through the toxic clouds. The Starlight Seeker held position in orbit, its sophisticated sensors tracking the small human rescue team as they descended in their mining shuttle. Blue watched the sensor readings from the bridge, his silver eyes reflecting the emergency warning lights that kept flashing on his screen. The external temperature is approaching 900 degrees. The radiation levels are. Captain, we must warn them. The crystalline captain chimed softly. They already know. Blue, look at their vital signs. The readings showed the humans' hearts beating steady and strong, their movements precise despite the crushing gravity and deadly conditions. James's voice came through the comm system, sounding almost cheerful. Nice day for a walk, isn't it? The alien crew watched in amazement as the human team exited their shuttle, their sturdy mining suits easily handling conditions that would have melted standard environmental gear. Each human carried what looked like modified mining equipment, tools that doubled as weapons. The pirates have a shield around their base, Blue reported, studying the scans. It's designed to withstand the volcanic activity. But found a way in, James interrupted. The camera feed showed him approaching what looked like a maintenance port. These shields are meant to keep the environment out, not miners in. Mike, let's use the plasma cutter. The aliens watched as the humans casually used industrial cutting tools in conditions that should have been impossible to work in. The plasma cutter, designed for asteroid mining, sliced through the pirates' defenses like they were made of paper. They're through the shield, Blue announced, his voice mixing awe and horror. But the internal atmosphere is full of sulfur dioxide and other toxic gases, James finished. Yeah, our suits can handle it. Standard mining hazards back home. The camera feeds showed the human team moving through the pirate base with surprising speed despite the high gravity. They encountered their first group of pirates, tall, scaled beings who clearly weren't expecting anyone to break in through the deadly environment. Don't hurt them too bad, James ordered as his team easily subdued the pirates. They're not used to our gravity. One of the pirates tried to fire an energy weapon, but Mike simply caught his arm and lifted him off the ground, a feat that should have been impossible in such high gravity. The prison cells are 3 levels down. Blue guided them, his instruments tracking life signs. But the lower levels are partially flooded with, oh no. What is it? The crystalline captain asked. Liquid methane. A coolant leak. The temperature is low enough to freeze most species solid. But James just laughed. Liquid methane. That's nothing. You should see winter in Chicago. We'll just need to move fast to conserve our suit heat. The alien crew watched in stunned silence as the humans jumped down into the freezing liquid, their suits' heating systems easily managing temperatures that would kill most species instantly. They moved through the flooded section, breaking through security barriers with their mining tools. Found them. James's voice carried clear triumph. Everyone's alive. The pirates put them in standard cells. Didn't even think humans might be strong enough to break out. The camera showed the captured human crew already working on their restraints when James arrived. They had been slowly breaking their chains, pretending to be properly contained while looking for a chance to escape. Interesting design, one of the rescued crew members commented about their cell. But they made the bars with materials meant to hold normal gravity species. It's like they built it from aluminum foil. Blue made more notes in his research log as the humans regrouped, casually discussing their escape route through conditions that would kill his entire crew instantly. They weren't just surviving in this hellish environment. They were thriving in it. Captain, Blue turned to his crystalline superior. I believe we need to update the galactic database. These humans, they don't just come from a death world. They've mastered it. And they're teaching us that what we consider impossible is just their normal day at work. The pirate base's alarm systems finally realized something was wrong. Red lights flashed through the corridors as the facility's internal sensors detected multiple breaches. But by then, it was already too late. Blue watched through the security feeds that his team had hacked. His silver eyes grew wider with each passing moment. The free human miners weren't just escaping. They were taking control of the entire facility. They've split into 3 teams, Blue reported to his crystalline captain. But the conditions in each section are. He trailed off as they watched James's team move through a corridor where a radiation leak had created a hot zone that would kill most species in minutes. The humans just checked their suit readings and kept moving. The pirates are trying to stop them by increasing gravity in Section C, another alien crew member reported. Through the cameras, they saw the pirates' trap in action. The artificial gravity cranked up to 3 times standard, enough to crush most species. The pirates watched their monitors, expecting to see the humans pinned down. Instead, they saw Tom, one of the rescued miners, laugh. "Feels just like home," he said, continuing to walk normally. "Maybe a bit lighter, actually. Must be all that time I spent in the Jupiter mining colonies." The pirates watching their monitors backed away in horror as the humans not only moved but began to run in the crushing gravity. "Impossible," one of the pirate commanders shouted. "Their bones should be breaking." Speaking of breaking, Blue observed, "Look at Section E." In that part of the base, 2 of the freed human miners had reached the facility's main power core. The pirates had sealed them in, thinking the intense heat from the reactor would trap them. Instead, the humans were using their mining knowledge to safely shut down the reactor. "These readings can't be right," Blue muttered, checking his instruments again. "They're working in temperatures that should have cooked them, even in those suits." "We work around plasma drills all day," one of the humans explained over the comm. "This reactor's actually cooler than our engine room back on the Iron Will." The pirates made their final mistake when they tried to stop the humans by venting atmosphere in the central hub. They assumed this would force the humans to retreat to pressurized areas. They didn't expect James to simply punch through the sealed emergency doors, his mining suit's systems easily handling the vacuum. "Now that's just showing off," Blue commented, making more notes in his research log. The freed humans regrouped in the central hub, moving through the airless space like they were taking a pleasant walk. They had not only escaped, but had also systematically taken control of every critical system in the facility. "Blue," James called over the comm, "your scans showing any other prisoners in this place?" Blue quickly checked his readings. "Yes, there are holding cells in the lower levels, but they're in an area flooded with corrosive gas." "Perfect," James replied. "That means the pirates won't expect us to go there. Tom, Mike, let's go free some more people." The alien crew of the Starlight Seeker watched in amazement as the humans dove into the toxic environment. Their mining suits, designed to handle the caustic chemicals often found in asteroids, shrugged off the deadly atmosphere. "They're not just surviving the environment," the crystalline captain chimed thoughtfully. "They're using it against the pirates. Every deadly condition becomes their advantage." The pirates finally realized they had made a terrible mistake. They had assumed the harsh conditions of their base would keep any rescuers out. Instead, they had given the humans the perfect playground to demonstrate their capabilities. "Attention all pirate personnel." James's voice boomed through the facility speakers. "Your base is now under our control. We shut down your reactor, taken over life support, and we're about to vent all the nice, breathable atmosphere you folks need. We, however, are fine in our suits. Shall we discuss surrender?" Blue added one final note to his log. "Humans don't just endure Deathworld conditions. They turn them into tactical advantages. The pirates never stood a chance." The volcanic moon wasn't done with them yet. As if angry at the humans' intrusion, the ground beneath the pirate base began to shake. Blue's sensors lit up with warning signals as magma channels beneath the facility started to shift. "James," Blue called urgently through the comm, The facility's foundations are becoming unstable. The volcanic activity is increasing exponentially. Yeah, we can feel it, James replied, his voice steady despite the chaos. Good thing we're used to unstable mining operations. How many prisoners are we looking at? Blue quickly scanned the facility. 23 beings from 12 different species. But James, most of them can't survive in the conditions outside the base. Then we'll just have to carry them. James's voice carried no doubt. Mike, Tom, get the emergency null-grav sleds from our shuttle. The rest of you, start organizing the evacuation. The pirates, now prisoners themselves, watched in disbelief as the humans began a rescue operation that should have been impossible. The facility's power grid was failing, causing protective shields to flicker. Toxic gases began leaking into populated areas, and the artificial gravity became erratic. Move, James shouted as a section of ceiling collapsed, molten rock beginning to pour in. He grabbed 2 alien prisoners, both from light gravity worlds, and simply carried them through the crushing gravity like they were children. Blue monitored the rescue through the failing security feeds. The humans had split into teams, each one responsible for a different evacuation route. They moved with incredible speed despite the dangerous conditions, their sturdy mining suits protecting them from the increasingly hostile environment. The temperature in Section C just passed 1,200 degrees. One of the Starlight Seeker's crew reported in panic. That's fine, Tom replied, his team already moving through that section. Our suits are rated for close proximity to plasma drills. Just keep us updated on structural integrity. The humans had rigged their null-grav sleds to carry the most vulnerable prisoners. Species that would have died instantly in the harsh conditions were safely secured in emergency pressure pods. The humans themselves acted as guards and guides, forming a protective barrier between the evacuees and the deadly environment. Warning! Blue's instruments screamed as a massive tremor shook the base. Magma chamber rupture imminent. Through the cameras, the alien crew watched in amazement as the humans adapted instantly. When a corridor collapsed, they simply cut through walls with their mining tools. When toxic gas filled an evacuation route, they adjusted their path without hesitation, carrying oxygen-breathing species to safety. This is actually pretty normal for us, Mike commented as he helped a crystalline being similar to the Starlight Seeker's captain across a gap in the floor, molten rock flowing below. You should see some of our deep space mining operations. This is just Tuesday. The facility's main power core finally gave out, plunging sections of the base into darkness. The pirates began to panic, but the humans remained calm. Their suits' built-in lights illuminated the way, and they seemed to thrive in the chaos. James, Blue called out, "You have less than 10 minutes before total structural collapse." "Plenty of time," James replied, leading another group of evacuees. "We once had to evacuate a mining platform that was falling into Jupiter's atmosphere. Now that was a tight schedule." The humans didn't just rescue the prisoners. They worked to save as many pirates as possible, too. Even those who had imprisoned them were guided to safety, though some got to experience being carried like packages by the stronger humans. "Last group coming out now," James reported as his team emerged onto the moon's surface. Behind them, the pirate base began to sink into the growing lake of lava. Blue watched the final sensor readings in amazement. The humans had evacuated everyone, prisoners, pirates, and their own crew, through conditions that should have killed them all. They hadn't just survived the disaster, they had conquered it. "You know what the best part is?" James said as they loaded the last evacuees into their shuttles. "Our mining suits still have 6 hours of power left. Anyone want to collect some mineral samples while we're here? This moon has some interesting formations." Blue added to his research log. Note: humans don't just survive catastrophes. They treat them as normal working conditions and still think about their job afterward. The galaxy will never be the same. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council glowed with soft blue light as Blue presented his report. His silver eyes swept across the assembled representatives of 100 species as he stood beside the human delegation. James and his crew looked almost out of place in their simple mining uniforms among the elaborate robes and environmental suits of the council members. "Honorable Council," Blue began, his voice clear and confident, "I stand before you to recommend an immediate reclassification of humanity's status in the galactic community. What we witnessed on that volcanic moon wasn't just survival, it was mastery over conditions we considered unsurvivable." The chamber's holographic display activated, showing footage from the rescue operation. Council members watched in stunned silence as humans walked through toxic atmospheres, carried aliens through crushing gravity, and treated lethal environments as mild inconveniences. The pirates chose that base specifically because its conditions would kill most rescue attempts. Blue continued. Instead, those very conditions gave the humans an advantage. They didn't just survive, they thrived. One of the council members, a being of pure energy, spoke up. "But they are so primitive. Their technology is perfectly adapted to their needs." James interrupted, stepping forward. "We build things tough because we're tough. Our tools don't need to be pretty. They need to work in conditions that would destroy your advanced equipment." The chamber erupted in murmurs as Blue displayed more data. Their home planet, Earth, would be lethal to 95% of known species. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, corrosive atmosphere, natural disasters. And yet, humans consider these conditions normal. They drink stimulant neurotoxins for pleasure. They deliberately consume plants that evolved chemical weapons. They exercise in crushing gravity for fun. The crystalline captain of the Starlight Seeker chimed in agreement. During the rescue, they not only saved themselves but protected and carried species that would have died instantly in those conditions. They turned what we consider a death zone into a successful rescue operation. Blue brought up his final displays. "I propose we create a new classification for humans. Not just Deathworlders. They are Deathworld masters. Their mining operations already work in conditions we thought impossible. Their ability to adapt and protect others in lethal environments makes them invaluable potential allies." The council's leader, a being of swirling gases, moved forward. "And what do the humans want in return?" James smiled, a gesture that still made some council members nervous. "Just the opportunity to work. There are lots of resources in places you can't safely reach. We can help with that. We can also help with rescue operations in extreme conditions, establish colonies on worlds you considered uninhabitable, and teach others how to survive in harsh environments." Blue displayed one final piece of footage. Humans giving their emergency rations to the rescued prisoners, sharing their water, and treating injuries while still in the lethal atmosphere of the volcanic moon. "They are not just strong," Blue concluded. "They use that strength to protect others. Their bodies evolved in hell, but their hearts evolved to help. I believe they could revolutionize how we approach hostile environments across the galaxy." The council chambers fell silent as the members considered this new perspective. Finally, the council leader spoke again. "We have made our decision. Humanity is hereby reclassified as a Class A ally species, with full rights to establish mining operations in extreme condition zones. Furthermore, we request human advisors for our emergency response teams." James nodded, then pulled out his ever-present container of coffee. Several council members who had read Blue's report about the neurotoxin beverage leaned away slightly. "Glad to help. Now, who wants to learn about how we mine asteroids? The really interesting minerals are usually in the radioactive ones." Blue made his final note in the official record. And so the galaxy learned an important lesson. What we saw as a deadly curse, humans had turned into their greatest strength. They came from a world that tried to kill them, and instead of merely surviving, they learned to turn death itself into a tool for helping others. The age of the Deathworlders had begun.